This is That Marketing Podcast.
Made by marketers, for marketers.
Welcome to another episode of That Marketing Podcast, brought to you by Spotlight UK. Today we're entering the world of virtual assistants with Charlotte Doniger of Pink Spaghetti Colchester. We'll cover how the perception of the VA role differs from reality and get Charlotte's take on whether personas are part of your initial planning or whether they emerge from understanding your early customer base. I hope you enjoy, and as ever, happy marketing. Charlotte, welcome to the podcast.
Hello, and thank you. Welcome.
So we're exploring the sort of views from different industries throughout this season of the podcast, and virtual assistants is an industry that, I sort of know people who work in it, but it's not one I've spent a lot of time thinking about, which is why I was keen to get you on and explore especially what marketing things look like from that perspective.
Okay.
As soon as you say virtual assistant, I think people get an image in their heads. I think it's probably quite similar to sort of traditional PA. Is that fair, or have we moved beyond that, do you think?
Yes, certainly. And yes, VA, PA. So it is all about supporting businesses with virtual assistants. And yes, the world of the PA has moved into another world of virtual assistants. And if you think of what a PA traditionally used to do for a business, it's still very much what they do now, but virtually. But I do believe the world of virtual assistants is a lot more than what some people still think it's a bit of a secretarial role. And, I've known of some very great secretaries and PAs to the point where I've actually been quite scared of them, because they've always been the gatekeeper to your boss or to the MD of the company and knows a lot more about the company than you probably will ever do yourself. But in terms of the world of virtual assistants, yes, it is all about supporting small businesses with everything from administrative through to sales and marketing tasks. So when you look at small businesses, a lot of the times they can't afford permanent skilled resource. So they will use virtual assistants, for certain parts of their business, whether that be, like I say, sales, it could be marketing, it could be general admin, it could be some administration, research work. So it's anything that what I always do with clients is like, what is it you're missing in your businesses? What is it you're not doing, but you need to do? And it's critical to keep your business moving forward. So that's what we do, is we look at the critical tasks that are required in a business. And and what we will try and do is get those moving, help the business moving forward, and even put in new processes and help that business owner to say, right, well, this is how we're doing now, and this is how you're going to work. So a lot of it is process or transformation services as well within a small business. So we're not looking at putting in a huge new infrastructure from an IT perspective, but there are ways that we could look at things that could actually be more to help them being more productive. So when you're more productive, you deliver more, and therefore you're adding more value to your clients.
Yeah, I mean, if a business hasn't got the resource to have, as you say, like a full-time marketing team on there, then obviously efficiency in terms of ROI has got to be there.
Yeah,
and
absolutely. And the thing is, with marketing for small businesses, a lot of small businesses are expecting a return on any type of marketing investment straight away. So on that basis, do I employ somebody, or do they actually go out to use a social media expert, a marketing expert, or even a virtual assistant? Because a lot of people that are in a virtual assistant world do have a strong marketing background, but there's a lot of other skill sets they can utilize. So they wouldn't necessarily say, I'm just purely social media. But in terms of small businesses, a lot of the time it is down to the business owner or somebody maybe in the office or somebody that works part-time is, I can do the marketing. And it's never, and what we do see as well is that people say, I know I've got to do it, but I'm not too sure how, and I'll just pop something on Facebook. So I always say to clients that marketing is absolutely critical to the success of your business and being visible. It's all about creating your brand, and it's developing that familiarity out to your audience as well. So I always think it's that good old saying is, I've heard of you. So yeah, but a lot of people think, I'm going to spend on marketing and I expect results now. Well, we both know that it takes time to do that.
Yeah, how do you go about convincing a micro business like that of the brand building part of it, the part that you do it now and it'll start generating a massive ROI in a year's time, but it's hard for them to look at that time scale and say, well, what do I do in the meantime? How do you get over that resistance?
Yeah, so it's really making sure that you can plan. Well, first of all, is I always think to clients is, well, who is it you're trying to reach? Do you really understand who your target audience is? And people will usually say, yes, I know who they are. And I was like, okay, well, let's get your avatar out. Let's see who they are. And what are their values of an what are their values as well as a business or an individual, do you think? But what's your values as well? So what a lot of people don't do is just think, oh yes, well, I know I'm going to attack, let's for example, the schools market. Okay, who in the schools market are you going to approach? So it's really drilling down into really understanding who your audience actually is. So it takes quite a bit of work of that with some clients. So I always say, keep in mind who your audience is. We need to look at currently who you are working with and working with well. So that's a starting point. And then in terms of the marketing, so where we do have clients, we will, I do the social media, for example. It's about planning in advance, a good month in advance, or more, and then putting an actual proper plan together. So I personally love to plan, and I think it's critical, again, within marketing that you have those plans as well, rather than going, oh, I need to do something today, or oh, I've not posted today, I've not done anything. Because it doesn't really, there's no structure to your marketing then.
Yeah, you got to have an idea of like a monthly theme or something, and it does make it easier to. It's one of those where it's the brand building, isn't it? That you might take you all a day or a week to sit down and write out your marketing calendar, but actually it'll save so much time the rest of the year.
I think a lot of people think they haven't got the content for marketing, and I'm like, yeah, the content's it's there. And a lot of the time it could be anything from understanding your personality as your business owner, what drives you, what motivates you. So it isn't just about the product and service, it's also about the personality and the brand behind the brand of the business as well. So you're part of it. So, people need to look at that as well, because people do buy from people as well. And I think that is really important in small businesses to actually get, who are you and why should I work with you on that as well.
Yeah. Do you think there's a tendency to think, oh, I need to have a brand, and people don't realize that they are the brand? They can be, they don't have to have the kind of corporate logo identity thing.
Yeah, I'm guilty of that. I'm an old-fashioned girl, so to speak, and again, I've worked for big corporates, small businesses, and it's always been about the business rather than the individual. Okay, I didn't own my business, and I own my business now. And even I sort of sometimes struggle to think, oh, what else can I talk about? I need to be a bit more personable, perhaps, and depending on the platform you want to use. And so we've all got to bring that forward a little bit, because you are investing in some, you are investing in that person as well.
Yeah, I wonder if there's a sort of continuum of personability, if that's not a horrendous phrase to bring. Like clearly like a podcast like this, where it's two people talking, that has personality written through it by its nature, and like video content probably does as well. Blogs, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. I think some of the blogs that I write are quite personal, some aren't. And then you get your kind of your resources, your heavier things, which they might not be such a thing for small businesses, but big chunky written resources, I think kind of, I wonder whether personality fits in there so much, or whether that's just when you get into that level of detail, you do need to be kind of not dry, but
Oh yeah, I think it's,
if you want to call it that.
Yeah, I do think it's important, to have that. And we live in a world where it's just everything is dominated by social media, and so sometimes I think it's a real differentiator, because if you are, for example, in my world, there's a lot of people who do virtual assistants, and you just need to get your head above the parapet. And how am I different? What makes me unique, and why am I good at what I'm doing?
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if the other part of it for small businesses is marketing is a very jargon-heavy area, and I'm personally not a fan of it. And I wonder if that's where small businesses struggle. That you kind of get they're bogged down in so many acronyms. You think, well, actually, like you said, you find your avatar, or personas is the word we use, but I think it's the same context. You find those people and you talk to them, and that's all marketing really is. So you need to strip it back.
Absolutely. And, it's who do you want to have a conversation with um, at the end of the day? And I agree with you completely. There's a huge amount because of the technical world that we are in, there is a lot of jargon out there. And I think it can, put people off. And rather than looking at new ways to do things and to deliver things and to get that message out there, I think there is possibly a hesitancy, but that's where we come in, you see, because that's what virtual assistants do, because we're always, trying to be, part of our roles is to ensure that we're as up to date as possible with what is going on in terms of the marketing world and what's the latest and greatest, and as we know, there's lots of things get launched probably on a weekly, daily basis that we don't all get to see. But actually, we've got a lot of experience behind ourselves of actually almost trying testing certain methods and methodologies, a bit like yourselves, or we know that that can work. Obviously, we can't guarantee it, but we know this is the reason why it would work, and let's have a look at doing something like that, because a lot of businesses, whether large, small, and even individuals, you do get stuck in doing the same thing. But if it's not delivering, then you've got to change it. You've got to mix it up a little bit.
Yeah, but you want to know, you want to do something completely different to everybody else, but you also want to know it's going to work before you do it. So you need an example there.
Yeah, so a lot of people will say, "Oh, I've done loads of Facebook ads, but it's not delivering anything." And you're like, "Okay, fine. Well, what was your expectation?" And that's the other thing I think, as a good marketeer, of anybody that's offering marketing services, you need to understand people's expectations, and and possibly change them.
Yeah, I imagine that probably ties into what we're talking about immediate ROI. That you said, some things are not going to deliver customers tomorrow, but they're going to deliver in 6 months, a year.
Well, and I think it's delivering that ROI. But actually, what I do ask for some of my clients is that, well, if you've got how long's that prospect and that nurturing process for that person to to buy from you, and that should give you an indication as well. Well, actually, it's taken me a lot, so how long is it going to get me in front of that person, or whether that be a Zoom or a face-to-face meeting or just purely a series of emails, how long is it going to take me to actually for that person to then transact with me? And I think data is always really important of knowing what you're doing and how, and what it's delivering back to the business. So a lot of people, when you say, well, okay, well, let's have a look at your ROI, but how did you get to that figure of, oh, it's delivered nothing? Well, actually, let's have a look at the activity. How much activity you're putting into this. And interestingly, it's either not a lot or you've given up. Because it wasn't instantaneous, because someone's told them, oh, of course, you'll get loads of business if you do that. Get thousands of followers, you'll get loads of business. Okay, yeah. So, but messaging is absolutely key. It really is.
Yeah, as you said, many of these, if you do this, like you said, and it's to happen, if everyone does it, then you just end up with people being bombarded by the same message. There's that kind of fine line to walk of, I need to do what's working for other people, but I need to also do something a little bit unique. And I think marketers of every stripe struggle to walk that line.
And also, as well, depending on your clients, is that not every platform, or depending on if you're, it's a consumers, are they actual consumers that you're selling to, or is it businesses that you're selling to, and what sectors as well. So a lot of times when, from a small businesses, that you're sending generic stuff out across to everybody, I'm like, it's, you need to, again, it goes back to who's your audience. Well, let's have a look at their values. Why would they buy from you? Then we just need to change that messaging, as long as, that the platform that you're using as well to market out.
Yeah. Do you think there's an ideal number of avatars or personas that we have? I think we tend, in our sort of small to medium SME range, we tend to say if you've got more than 5 personas, then you're probably overdoing it.
I would agree with that. I would agree with that. But again, it depends on what your products and services are. But for a small business, typically I can give you an example of somebody, for what I do with someone, and she's very, very specific. And that's a night, because of what they do. And so, you couldn't have a different avatar for that. But then when someone says to me, oh, I'll do business with anybody, you're like, really? Okay. Let's have a look at, let's really drill down of who your current clients are. And 9 times out of 10, you'll start to see the same avatar, across different clients. But actually, so you've got lots of clients, but actually this is now your avatar really, isn't it? So, and I would say the people I work with who are typically micro businesses, or if they're small businesses, they're no more than around about 10 people. There's no more than about 2 or 3 avatars.
Do you think it matters particularly whether you discover your avatar after 6 months with it, or if you go into if you hunt down your first customer based on having that persona generated? Do you think there's a difference in how that plays out, or does it really depend on the business?
I think it does depend on the business. However, it's a starting point. I know when I started my business, I was very specific, or in my head of who my business would be. However, I have got clients from all sorts of shapes and sizes and sectors. But what I am seeing is that I talk a lot about values. So when I understand their business values and I've got to know them, actually the ones where I work well with, we're very similar. So you might start out thinking, oh, it's going to be this person or that type of business, but actually you start to then gravitate to those businesses and people who have the similar types of values and aspirations, and how you do things as well. Yeah, I think you can start out with one, but be open-minded as well, because it might be very surprising that actually somebody's buying your services and it's somebody that you'd never thought would be that person. You've not thought about it. So you're constantly learning about your business. So I would never say to somebody, just don't shut yourself down. But if you've got experience, I'm never going to sell into that marketplace because of that, then fair enough, that that you've done that and it doesn't work for you.
Sure, yeah. Do you think there are any tactics that are completely universal? If you work with a lot of different businesses in a lot of different sectors, is there anything that can apply to everyone, or is it far more nuanced than that? I'd be interested.
Oh, sorry, you broke up a little bit then about playing it same. Sorry.
Yeah, I was wondering if there's, I was thinking because I work with quite a specific niche of business. Your experiences are quite a bit broader across sectors. I'm just wondering if sort of as a final thought, there is anything marketing-wise that is universal in terms of tactics, or is it so industry-specific that you can't say, if we were to try and finish and say one tip for marketers is this, have we got anything there, or is that massively oversimplifying, do you think?
Possibly. I mean, as an individual, I like to try lots of different things to make sure that it's going to work for a client, but then you hone it down. But I know that Facebook might not work for a certain sector, but it does very well through LinkedIn or from a good old-fashioned email marketing, which, as you know, I love.
That's good. Thank you for defending that sector.
I'm not plugging that, but
I did not ask Charlotte to say that before we started.
So if your client's B2B, are you really going to be spending your time, a huge amount of investment on Facebook or maybe Instagram? You've got to have a presence there, but would you actually put all your activity, not necessarily your activity, but all your time and energy into those platforms when maybe your clients would they go on those platforms to search for you if they were looking to buy those services, or would you be educating them through those platforms?
Yeah, that's a fair point. We've actually, I think about a couple of months ago, we changed tack on what we were doing through Instagram, because pre-pandemic it was very much sort of behind the scenes and like office life stuff. Obviously that disappeared, and changing it to branded content and slightly more, content focused. It did expand our Instagram reach and engagement significantly, but importantly not to the point where it's overtaking LinkedIn is our most engaged social channel by a long way. So it's interesting to we've made a gain from it, but I think we're putting enough effort into it now. If we're not going to say we're not going to have an Instagram marketer on the team, because I don't think with our audience it's ever going to deliver on that scale. But we have improved it from a 1 to a 2.
Yeah, absolutely. So if as a marketeer, if say those platforms, that's what you love, that's what you get your inspiration from, then of course you're going to have the right presence on there to attract people as well. So you've got to be seen that you're great at doing that, making sure. So, but we're a real believer. It's the old saying is you got to go where do your customers hang out, and that's where you got to find them. So.
Yeah. Actually, I wanted to pick up on a different bit of that and say, do what you love. And I think you kind of forget about that, and hopefully we're
Mm,
emerging in, like, as a lot of marketing is getting a lot more personable. And,
mm.
and you can tell on webinars, on videos, you can tell if someone's, pushing out content because you or I have told them to do it, or if they, if they love writing, if they love making videos. And I think letting that personal energy come into marketing is quite, especially for a small business, that if you're not enjoying engaging or trying to engage people, then people are going to pick up on that and not
Oh
react to
God,
content.
yes, yeah, absolutely. You've always got to think what's in it for me, what's in it for them.
Yeah.
You know, if I was on the receiving end of this, do I get it? And does it fit with me? And sometimes it does, and sometimes, I mean, there's brands that I know some of their marketing, and I'm like, oh my goodness, but I still buy it because their product's good.
Yeah, fair enough. You've got to have the product behind it as well, but
Exactly, that's
I
it.
think
You've got to have good marketing, and you've got to have good reach, etc. But you've got to have a good product as well.
that's probably a good place to wrap up a marketing podcast. We talked about all the tactics and things, but if your product's no good, then you're not going to get anywhere. I think
No.
that is a very sensible point to wrap things up and say thank you very much for being on.
And I think with companies is that you've got, if you've put, all that effort into a great marketing schedule of some description, you still need to back it up with that human interaction, even if that's just a phone call out to somebody, or, trying to get in touch with somebody, or sending an email, etc. Then I still think, or even when you're on, Instagram or Facebook, and if somebody has liked and shared, have the courteous thing and saying, oh, great, thanks very much for that. Obviously, if you're getting thousands of likes and you can't go back to everybody individually, but you can still put something. So that's the other thing as well, is that you encourage people, is that people have actually made the effort to like and even share or comment on it. Then interact back with them.
Yeah, I mean, like, people forget the social part of social media, don't they? They kind of use it as a billboard.
And social is about having a conversation. That's what you're trying to provoke, is to have is to stimulate interest, and therefore a conversation.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of That Marketing Podcast. You clearly have wonderful taste. We hope you found the content useful and enjoyed it. We'd love you to subscribe wherever it is you're listening to us. Maybe leave us a review. If you can think of a topic that you'd like us to cover, or even if you fancy coming on the podcast and sharing your own experience on a particular topic, you can reach us at marketingteam@spotler.co.uk. Thanks once again, and happy marketing.